Ladies and gentlemen, the Bible tells us for everything, there is a season and a time for every matter under heaven, Ecclesiastes 3:1. Life often feels like a race against time, doesn't it? We pray, we hope, and we work tirelessly, expecting things to happen when we think they should. But what if I told you that God's timing is not just better, but perfect? You may not see it now, but every delay, every closed door, and every unanswered prayer is part of a divine plan. God's timing isn't just about when it's about preparation, preparing you for what He has already prepared for you. God's timing is perfect. It's a statement that's simple to say, but often challenging to embrace when life doesn't unfold as we expect. When we face delays, disappointments, or doors that seem to slam shut in our faces, it's easy to question whether God hears our prayers or sees our struggles. Yet the truth is that every delay, every unanswered prayer, and every moment of waiting is part of a greater divine plan. His timing is not just good, it's perfect. It aligns with His purpose for our lives and brings about blessings that we could never orchestrate on our own. When we're in a season of waiting, it's natural to feel anxious or frustrated. We live in a world that demands instant results, where waiting is often viewed as a waste of time. But in God's kingdom, waiting is never wasted. Every moment of delay is filled with purpose. When a door doesn't open, it's not because God is denying you something good, it's because He is preparing you for something greater. Sometimes we're not ready for the blessings we're asking for. Other times, the blessing itself needs preparation. Imagine asking for a bountiful harvest when the soil isn't ready or the seeds haven't had time to grow. God, in His infinite wisdom, knows what we need and when we need it. During these times of waiting, God is often working on us. He's shaping our character, strengthening our faith, and teaching us to rely on Him. This preparation process is vital because the blessings He has for us are often bigger than we can handle in our current state. If He gave us everything we wanted exactly when we asked, we might not be able to sustain it, appreciate it, or use it for His glory. The delay is not rejection, it's refinement. Like gold that must go through fire to be purified, we are being molded and prepared to carry the weight of His blessings. Waiting on God's timing also teaches us trust and surrender. It requires us to let go of our own timelines and plans and place our confidence in His. This is not easy, especially when we see others around us achieving what we long for, when the wait feels endless. But trusting God means believing that He sees the bigger picture. He knows the beginning and the end. While we may only see the next step, God sees the entire journey. And because He loves us, He ensures that every step is aligned with His purpose. In those moments when waiting feels unbearable, remember the countless examples in the Bible of individuals who experienced God's perfect timing. Abraham and Sarah waited decades for the promise of a son. Joseph endured years of hardship, betrayal, and imprisonment before stepping into his destiny as a leader in Egypt. David was anointed king, but spent years on the run before ascending to the throne. In every case, God's timing was not just perfect, but necessary. Their waiting was not wasted. It was a time of preparation, growth, and alignment with God's will. When the time is right, God's blessings come in ways that exceed our expectations. The door that seemed permanently closed suddenly opens, and we realize why we had to wait. The job, relationship, or opportunity that felt delayed arrives with perfect clarity, and we see how the timing allowed us to step into it fully prepared. God's blessings often come suddenly, but they are never rushed. His timing ensures that everything aligns for our good and His glory. So, if you find yourself in a season of waiting, take heart. Know that God is not withholding anything from you. He's setting the stage for something greater. Use this time to grow closer to Him, to deepen your faith, and to prepare your heart for what's to come. Trust that He sees your struggles, hears your prayers, and knows your desires. And believe that when the time is right, He will move in ways that are undeniably His. God's timing is perfect because it is tied to His perfect love for us. He doesn't rush and He doesn't delay. His plans are never thwarted by our impatience or doubts. Instead, He invites us to rest in His promises, to trust in His wisdom, and to embrace the process of waiting as an act of faith. When you surrender to His timing, you'll find peace in the waiting, joy in the journey, and overwhelming gratitude when the blessings finally arrive. Impatience often feels like a natural reaction to delays in life. When things don't happen on our timeline, we tend to push, rush, or try to force outcomes, believing that more effort or urgency will fix the problem. Yet, impatience rarely brings the results we want. Instead, it often leads to unnecessary struggles and setbacks. The truth is, rushing God's plan can create more difficulties than blessings. Just like a seed planted in the soil cannot bloom overnight, certain things in life require time, growth, and nurturing before they can flourish. When we fail to honor that process, we risk sabotaging what God is preparing for us. Think about the seed analogy. If a farmer grows impatient and digs up the soil before the seed has time to take root, the seed's potential is destroyed. It could have grown into a strong, fruitful plant, but impatience cut its growth short. Our lives are much like that seed. When we demand immediate results or take matters into our own hands, we risk stepping out of alignment with God's perfect plan. We may rush into relationships that aren't right for us, accept jobs that don't fulfill our purpose, or make decisions that lead to unnecessary heartache. Rushing ahead doesn't speed up God's blessings, it delays them because we end up needing more time to recover and realign with His will. This doesn't mean we should sit idly by, waiting passively for God to move. Instead, it's about trusting His timing while doing the work He has called us to do in the present. Imagine a baker rushing the process of making bread by increasing the oven's temperature to speed up the baking. The result would be dough that's burned on the outside but raw on the inside, unfinished, unusable, and far from the intended result. Similarly, when we try to fast-track God's plan, the outcome often feels incomplete or unsatisfying. The process of waiting isn't meant to frustrate us, it's designed to refine us, ensuring that when the blessing comes, we're ready to embrace it fully. Impatience can also blind us to the lessons and growth opportunities present in the waiting period. Often we're so focused on what we want, and when we want it, that we miss the valuable moments God has placed in front of us. These moments may be opportunities to deepen our faith, build relationships, or develop skills that will be crucial when the blessing arrives. For example, Moses spent 40 years in the desert before leading the Israelites out of Egypt. That time wasn't wasted, it was a season of preparation. Without it, Moses wouldn't have been ready to step into his calling. Similarly, the waiting periods in our lives are often where God does His most transformative work. Rushing God's timing also reflects a lack of trust. When we try to force outcomes, we're essentially saying, I don't believe God will come through, so I need to take control. But the more we try to control, the more out of control life seems to become. God's plan doesn't need our help, it needs our faith. Trusting Him means believing that His timing is better than ours, even when we don't understand it. It means surrendering our need for immediate answers and allowing Him to work in His way in His time. There's a peace that comes when we release the need to rush. It allows us to live in the present moment, appreciating what God is doing right now instead of constantly striving for what's next. The waiting period becomes less about frustration and more about anticipation, knowing that God is orchestrating something far greater than we could ever imagine. When we let go of impatience, we open ourselves to the fullness of His plan, which is always worth the wait. The Bible reminds us in Isaiah 40:31, but those who wait on the Lord shall renew their strength. They shall mount up with wings like eagles. They shall run and not be weary. They shall walk and not faint. This verse is a powerful reminder that waiting on God is not a passive act. It's an active, faith-filled choice that strengthens us. When we trust His timing and refuse to rush, we find ourselves renewed, equipped, and ready to step into the blessings He has prepared. Life flows more smoothly when we align our pace with His, trusting that every delay is a step towards something far greater.